A warm greetings to all of you, and special thanks for all your encouragements, the comments. It actually energizes. In the last video, what we saw is when do we choose to go with a platform versus writing the code on the own. And there had been several requests saying that we are a beginner, we want to know how to get into a platform like an AWS or an Azure and to train a model. So what I thought is, in this video, let's take a very simple example, get on to AWS and help you to get your hands dirty with it, right? So there are two prerequisites for this session. A, you need to have your AWS login credentials. As I said, it is free for 1 year. Not all the services, but few of them. B, you need to at least have a basic idea of what is an S3, what is an EC2. I'm not expecting you to configure an EC2, which again is not a very difficult one, but I just want you to know what is an EC2 and what are the various IAM roles, or what is meant by identity access management, because those are very fundamentals. And AWS Sagemaker, the service which we are going to see in this video, is a machine learning model or machine learning service which is given by Amazon to its users. It has all the algorithms written in it. You just need to invoke them, pass on your data, and configure or inform the machine, inform the SageMaker what type of machines you want to configure to do it. That is one great thing about Amazon, wherein your infrastructure is simplified in code. Whether this particular feature is already available in form of CloudFormation and other services. So you need not explicitly go ahead and configure a machine, but you just give the details in terms of hyperparameters, and SageMaker will take care of itself. Those are certain wonderful things which we'll see when we get on to the session as such. And before getting into the session, I was trying to see some simple examples which I can take and help the audience to understand it. One such impressive example I came across is detecting a tumor is malignant or not. It is there in AWS SageMaker. It's a free code available to all its users. Its documentation is very extensive, but I didn't want to take it for two reasons. One, it's already available, and two, I don't think that should be the first example for a beginner. So in that context, I was trying to put together a piece of code for image processing, and luckily I found it. It was already there as part of a website called datasolita.com, and the author Anina has written a code. I have taken it. I want to acknowledge her efforts. I made few changes to it and added a lot of comments to give a clarity on what each section is doing. And this code is available in my GitHub. The links to the base code as well as to my GitHub I will provide you as part of the description in this video. So what is the problem which you are going to solve? So MNIST, Modified National Institute of Standards and Technology, right? Standards, Technology and Standards Database. It has a widely used or universally used set of records. So it has two comma separated files. One is used for training, other is used for testing. The training one has around 27,455 records, and the testing one has 7,172 records. So what does it contain? It is nothing but handwritten images or handwritten digits which are converted into images. So that is the collection of it. So for example, if I have a picture of letter 3 like this, they will take this in a standard grayscale image, which is 28 cross 28 size So 28 into 28 is roughly what, 784. So it will have each image will be represented as one record of 784 columns, and each of this column, right, can take a value between 0 to 255, where 0 represents total no light or total black, 255 represents full light or white, anything in between. So an image is converted into a standard window of size 28 cross 28, so that will be 784 pixels, and each pixel can take a value between 0 to 255 depending upon the composition of red, green and blue, the primary colors of light. Now we will take this available database. I will give you the link of where to download it. I tried to keep it in my GitHub, but GitHub will not allow any file which is greater than, I believe, 16 MB or 25 MB. One of the training data set which had around 27,000 records was close to 83 MB. So I will give you the link to where to download this data set free of cost in the description of this video, right? Now we are going to take this data set, invoke a KNN algorithm and help it to classify into 10 clusters, wherein it will understand how to classify an incoming image. So if you feed in an incoming image, it itself will calculate the distance between the centroid. I hope you remember the formula and the session which we covered on how this KNN really operates, but you need not code on all this. Sagemaker will take care of it, and it will classify and tell you that, okay, this is the record which you fed in and this is what it represents. This is a particular image it represents. So it's going to be a very interesting example. So without wasting much time, let's get into it. Thank you. Having a login ID and password. Okay. Yes, I have an ID. And logging onto it, it's a multi-factor authentication. Okay, I'm into it. Now, Sagemaker is there in my recently visited services because I had been working on it for some time. But if you're new, you can get to all services. Under machine learning, you can see Sagemaker. But even before you do it, let's go ahead and create an S3. So S3 is the place where your input files, both the test and the training files, will be stored. It will be a comma separated file. And if you are wondering where to download it, as I said, I took most of these examples from this site, and they have downloaded it from a place called MNIST dataset, which is a Kaggle dataset. If you go there, it will have all your files. So this is your test and this is your train. As I said, the training file is a bigger one. It contains around 27,455 records, and the test file is relatively smaller with around 7,000 records. And this is what they do. They take a sign language, convert it into a 28 cross 28 pixel or a window, right? And each of that pixel represents an value between 0 to 255. So for the simplicity, I have already downloaded it. It is available here. So let me open up a test one, which is pretty simple. It's opening up. Let's see. Yes. Now label 6 has 284 pixels, right? And each of the pixels shows the value of RGB. So that is what it is. This is a very standard data set. Okay, so, and this is the test data set. So if I see the count of it, it will be 7172 because I'm ignoring the header. Okay, so letter 6 will be represented in an image of this nature. Now let's get on to the AWS, open an S3, let's create a bucket. Let me say Sagemaker demo. Sagemaker demo TP. TP is Tech Padasala, right? I'm not going to keep anything here, so I just say next, create a bucket. Okay, now we have a bucket. Now go to this bucket. I'm going to upload the files which I just downloaded, right? Sagemaker test train. Let them get uploaded. So we are putting our input files into an S3. So as that goes on, let me go here. It will not ask you the ID password again because you're already done. Open up the Sagemaker. Now go to the dashboard. Yeah, no recent activities is good. Now what you need to do is you need to create a notebook. So I'm going to say create a notebook instance. So I'll say Sagemaker demo. Okay, now permission. I need to give a permission. So I'll say I will create a new role. Say any S3 bucket which I have, or you can give your bucket name if you are very specific about restricting the permission, but this is for more of a demo video. But the good practice is you choose this and give the bucket name which you just created. So any S3 bucket, you create a role. Yes, it's created. Now create notebook instance. It is getting created, but meanwhile your test and train files are already here. Now we need to wait for some time, and just to simplify the time, I have taken all the code, working code in a Word document. So I'm just going to wait for this to come in. So go to the dashboard. The notebook, it is still pending. That is going to take some time. It is going to be pending for some time. Let me explain the code. It will be easier for you. Okay, so the first piece of code, what it does is, since all your input file is stored in S3 bucket, you need to import the Panda utility for you to read the comma separated file, right, from the S3. So that is what this piece of code does. And then for SageMaker, it can make use of both the CSV format as well as a record IO format. A record IO format is nothing but a binary exchange of data wherein you have a magical number at the beginning which will denote that that there is a trailing record and this is the length of each record. So if people are there from the legacy systems like mainframes and others, you would have already seen this is nothing but a header which informs, saying that what is the length of the record which is to follow in the binary format. So SageMaker allows both CSV as well as the record IO protobuf format, but we in this example take this format because if you want to make use of CSV, there are certain more parameters which you have to give during the training phase. So just to keep it short, we have done this. Let us see whether the notepad is created. It is still pending. Okay, then so once you use a Panda utility to read the data from the, I think this is the same name we gave. Let me check it up. This is the same SageMaker demo TP. SageMaker demo TP. Yep. So it will read the input file from the S3 bucket, that is where you have stored. Then it will convert the CSV into a record IO format. So it is all done. And in this case, this data set is already well cleaned. But when most of the times, the work is not in algorithms, but in cleaning the data. But you are good enough that you got all the data. Then we make use of a training model to have this KNN trained. Let me explain one by one. Okay, so this is the get image, or this particular one talks about your IAM role, right? So what role is you have to perform this function? In this case, it's a demo video, so you will be using your own IAM role. But in case if you are doing it in an enterprise, only few people will be authorized to access the bucket, to run this algorithms and to run this EC2 machines. So you need to be careful about IAM, right? So this particular parameter talks about what role is being assigned to run this. The train instance count, that is a pretty simple one, which talks about how many instances has to be initiated to train this model. In this case, we are just keeping it as one. As I said, this is a paid service, so I want to keep it at a bare minimal. And this is the type of machine which will be used. And once all the model is trained, where will you put it? This bucket, already I have defined the bucket as where? The same bucket name. Okay. So it will invoke the KNN algorithm. It will configure a machine of this type, and then once it is done, it will put the model into this particular path. And the hyperparameters are nothing but what is your sample size. I told you the test data file has 27,455 records. That is what it indicates. And the feature dim is nothing but the number of features in the input data, which is around 784. And the K is nothing but the number of clusters which you want. You can even change it. As I said, there are various methods to calculate the K, but I just kept it simple. And at the end of this training phase, you will get a model, and that will be saved. In fact, I can show you in the S3 bucket, wherein you will have the model created. And then you go ahead and deploy the model, saying that I'm going to deploy it in an endpoint. And you need to give the endpoint machine configuration, saying that this is how it will look like. And the final one is, you are just going to put a very simple file, not even in S3, in your local machine, and invoke the model, saying that, okay, this has certain inputs. Can you classify and tell me what are the outputs? It is as simple as that. I just put it in the Word document because I know that this is going to take some time. Let's see whether it is done. Yep, finally it's created. So we are going to go here. I don't have any tag, anything here. Okay, so I'm going to open a Jupyter. It is going to ask me what environment you want to use. I'm going to use a simple Python environment, but if you are a person who is very comfortable in R or other languages, you can do it as well. I'll show you where to do it. So I'm going to say, so these are the various things available. I'm going to take a Python 3, but as I said, if you want an R or you are comfortable with any of it, please go ahead and do it. It will create a notebook for you. It takes some time, right? Now, since we have already explained it, I'm just going to copy paste this code. This will help you to read from the S3 bucket. So this is your S3 bucket. These are the two files, and this code will allow you to read it. Now we need to make that into a different format. So this particular code will do that for you. Now this is your training one. I've explained the hyperparameters. If you have a doubt, let me know. Now let's go to the deploying one. I'm not going to use it right away. Let's do it a little later, because let's first train the model and do it. Now I'm going to say kernel restart and run all. So it is running. So if this asterisk indicates running, once it's done, there will be a number there indicating how many times it has executed. So let's wait. Yep. So this is executed. Now it is going to read it and convert it. Let us see how it does. If you're wondering what is this is more like I wanted to see how this particular chart comes up, and for one of the examples, do not worry about it. Now this is also done. So actually, if it is done, if you go here and now you have a CSV file, it is read. So now it is training the model. See, the asterisk is there. It is starting to train. Now it is launching the ML instance. It is going to take some time. You need to have patience, but remember, this is all a paid service. So at the end of it, please ensure that you go ahead and delete all these instances, including your S3 bucket. I will explicitly do it. You can do it using even the code, but I normally prefer doing it explicitly, but not always possible in an enterprise scenario. So it is now starting the training job. Now until it does that, right, I will explain you preparing instances for training. Okay, I'll explain you the other file which I have. This is the path to test file, which will finally invoke when the, see here I don't have any labels. This is just for the final deployed endpoint to read this and to tell me which image it represents. So I said this need not be put anywhere, but rather I will go here and say new I can upload a file here there, which will be is the path to it's uploaded. So finally, once the model is done, we'll invoke it. Now it is downloading the training image. So we have invoked a KNN algorithm, and it is installing a machine of this type. One instance, if you say 2, 3, it is installed in more than one machine, and then the output of the model will be in this bucket, which we can go and see once it's done. Yep, it is training. Is this done? Training job completed. So that means that now you should be having a model here, right? Let us see. Yep, you have a model. So this is your output. This is a model which was created. This is the model which got created by this training, and that model will be utilized here to be deployed in a machine. You understand it? Right. So you just gave this format, CSV format, that got converted into this REC format when when we converted the CSV to the record IO protobuf format. Okay, so that is what you see here, and using this, then the machine did the training using the KNN algorithm with your IAM access, with this type of machine configured, so you need not worry about it, and then it stored the output in this format. So you have this model now created. This is the one. Okay, now it is getting deployed. The model is created, it is getting deployed. I have to wait until the model gets deployed. And as I said, this asterisk indicates it is work in progress. Once it's done, you will see a number saying that this is done, completed. Now this 3 indicates their cell number. Now you can actually create this. You remember I didn't copy the last thing. Now we can do it. So once the model is ready, now it will open this file, and if you are wondering where is this file, this is the file, and this is a simple Python which will read as well as append, and this predictor is nothing but it will call this particular model which is getting generated, and it will give this file. So the invoking part is pretty simple. I have a file which contains a set of pixels or a set of representation of pixels, and I'm just going to invoke it. I don't even need to know what algorithm it uses or anything. It's an image processing system. Okay, so I'm waiting for it to get over. It's going to take some time. As I said, meanwhile, if you want to explore more on Sagemaker, there are a lot of exercises given. In fact, in the similar format, you can feed in your MRI scans, and it will detect whether a tumor is malignant or non-malignant. It will give a response as 1 or 0. Those are some of the beautiful algorithms which is already pre-coded. It is there. Probably I will also give you that link for you to practice. Meanwhile, if you go to your console, and now if you see your dashboard, until this is running, I will show you. Now you have a notebook, you have trained one job, and one model is getting created, and all these are billable. That's the reason I said you should go ahead and delete it at the end of the exercise. It is still running, so this dashboard will show you what are the resources you are using, and there is an endpoint, which this endpoint is nothing but, actually I will tell you, here in our case what we have done is we have put a local file here and calling it through this simple code, but that is not the normal way of doing it. This will be the endpoint, then you need to connect it via a API call, an API and a Lambda unit, so that any incoming request will be routed, and it will be a service. It's not something like you just put it in your local machine and invoke it here, but it can be through your machine in your browser or any of your machine, and this endpoint has to be invoked. through a lambda, and that is how typically a work is done. But remember, this is nothing to do with SageMaker. Your SageMaker is a machine learning model which got wherein you didn't code anything on KNN. You just said make use of this input, put it the output over here, and this is the type of machine you have to use, and KNN is the algorithm which you need to use. You didn't code anything on KNN here. So that is the real use of SageMaker, okay? But all this is simple software engineering, wherein I'm doing it in a local test, but you need to do, if you want to do it in a very professional way, do it using a API, Lambda, and other AWS services. In fact, if you're interested, I can do that in a different session. Do let me know. I'm still waiting for this to get. But remember, this endpoint will cost you because it is a machine which is made available. You might need to go ahead and delete it at the end of all this exercise. That's the reason I said anything and everything you use in SageMaker will come with a cost, but it is a minimal cost. Still, it will be tied to your credit card. It is still running. Yep, you got the pipe symbol. It is done. So the model is ready. It is deployed. It is available through this endpoint. Now I'm just going to invoke this. Can we see? It predicted a 6, 5, 10, 0 and 3. So I gave 5 records. It has already predicted it. These are the pixels which we gave, and what these pixels represent, you already got it. So that is your SageMaker. As I said at the end of this exercise, do not forget to go ahead and delete all those things. So the way I normally do it is, I go here, I delete this, I delete, then I go here, I go to this endpoint, action, delete, then I go to the dashboard, say stop, or let's say dashboard, everything is done. There's a notebook, shouldn't be in service. I'm going to say stop, and once it is stopped, yep, dashboard, model, yes, delete. Now don't forget to go to S3 again. I delete this. SageMaker demo TP. So that I don't leave any resources which is being utilized there, right? This will take some time to reflect, but the most important thing is endpoints. You shouldn't have any endpoints running up there. Yep, you're done. So hope you got a taste of how to use SageMaker, and this delete need not be a hard delete. You can even do it using code, but just for my satisfaction, I have been so used to ensure that I go to the dashboard and do it. Hope you like it. Thank you.